Okay, so let's dive in and let's look at the last couple of pages of questions on triangles, essentially. And so over here, again, we probably want a name for this angle, so we can call it whatever we like, but let's call it angle A. Angle A is 2t plus 10 degrees. And the reason for that is angles opposite equal sides. So now we know that this one and this one and this one add to 180 degrees. Why? Because angles of triangles. So 2t plus 10 plus another 2t plus 10 plus 40 degrees is 180 degrees. Right, so let's collect our like terms. On the left-hand side, we've got 4t. We've also got 10 and 10 and 40, which actually comes to 100. Right? No, it doesn't come to 100 at all. 10 and 10 and 40. 10 and 10 and 40 actually comes to 60, doesn't it? 60 degrees. And that equals 180 degrees. Let's subtract 60 from both sides. So 4t is 120 degrees. And then divide both sides by 4. T is 30 degrees. Okay. This one, well, what we actually know is that each angle is the same. Each angle is 2b plus 20 degrees. And the reason we can give for that is angles opposite equal sides. So if angles are opposite equal sides, then they are equal. So these two angles here must be equal. And likewise, these two angles here must be equal. So all the angles are equal. All right. So what we know, and we know that actually each of them must be 60 degrees. So we could do one of two things. We could either add them all up and say 3 lots of 2b plus 20 degrees must be 180 degrees, angles of triangle. Now we've got a choice. We could divide both sides by 3, or we could distribute the 3 into the bracket. If we divide both sides by 3, we just get that 2b plus 20 degrees is 60 degrees, which is basically what we said earlier, that each angle must be 60 degrees. Now we're going to subtract 20 from both sides, so 2b is 40 degrees. And lastly, we're going to divide both sides by 2, and we get b is 20 degrees. Okay, right, this next one, we've got, got quite a lot going on here. Well, the first thing we know is that C and B are actually equal. All right? Well, in fact, let's start with A. We know that angle A is 30 degrees because it's angle A is opposite this side, which is equal to this side. So angle A equals 30 degrees. Angles opposite equal sides. Okay, so we know that this is 30 degrees. But now what do we know about B? Well, we know that B is actually an exterior angle of a triangle. And what do we know about exterior angles of triangles? They equal the opposite interior angles added together. So B is actually going to be 30 plus 30, which is going to be 60. And that has come from exterior angle of triangle. Okay, now, what do we know about angle C? Well, angle C is opposite equal sides when compared with angle B. So angle C is actually going to be 30 degrees as well. So angle C is going to be the same size as angle B. It's going to be 60 degrees. And our reason is angles opposite equal sides. Okay, so now we've got a 60 here and a 60 here. We can easily work out angle D. All right, if these are both 60, then D plus 2 lots of 60 degrees is 180 degrees. Angles of triangle. So what we've actually, if we take away this 120, two lots of 60, 120, if we take that away from both sides, we actually get that D is 60 degrees. Okay, so we've actually got 60 here. Now, in the big triangle, we know that the angles must add up to 180 degrees. So I'm actually even just going to write it like that. I'm going to say, in big triangle, we've got E, then we've got a 30-degree angle, then we've got this whole angle here. Now this is going to be 30 plus 60 plus 25. That must all come to 180 degrees. And our reason for that is angles of triangle. Okay, so what we've actually got here, we've actually got 30 and 30, that's 60. Another 60, that's 120, and 25. We've actually got E plus 145 degrees is 180 degrees. If we now subtract 145 from both sides, we get 35 degrees. Okay, right. Then this one over here, I think is fairly straightforward. All these angles are in a triangle. So if we add them all up, 82 degrees plus 2k plus k, that must come to 180 degrees. Right, we end up with 3k. Let's subtract 82 from both sides, and when we do that, we get 98 degrees. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 3. We get 98 over 3. Right, 98 over 3 is actually 32 and 2/3. 32 and 2/3 of a degree. Okay, things don't always work out exactly, nice whole numbers. Right, this one's quite easy to pick, I think. What sort of angle is this? Outside, it's an outside angle. What's the other word for outside? Exterior. So we know that 115 degrees is equal to H plus 48 degrees. Exterior angle of triangle. Let's subtract 48 from both sides to get H. All right, so 115 minus 48. All right, and it's going to be 67 degrees. Okay. Right, this one over here. Okay, first thing is we know that this angle here is 46 degrees. Okay, and that means that we can work this angle out over here. Let's put some names on here. Let's call this point B, and let's call this point A, and let's call that little angle A1. So the first thing is that angle A1 is 46 degrees. And that's because we've got angles opposite equal sides. Okay, so now angle B plus 46 plus another 46 must equal 180 degrees. Reason for that, angles of triangle. Okay, so what we've got B plus 92 is 180. So, in fact, if we subtract 92 from both sides, we actually get 88 degrees. So angle B is 88 degrees. It looks about right. It looks almost like a right angle. 90 degrees would be a right angle. Okay? Now, what do we know about this angle M over here? It's outside the triangle. It's an exterior angle. Angle M, all right, will be equal to 88 plus 46 degrees. All right, and I think that's 134 degrees. Don't forget your reason here, X angle of triangle. Okay, just checking that, yeah, 134 degrees. Okay, Now this one, again, we've got an exterior angle over here. So we know that 100 degrees plus x must be equal to 3x plus 10 plus x. So 100 degrees plus x must be equal to 4x plus 10 degrees. Let's subtract x from both sides. So we're going to get 3x on this side. And on this side, all we've got left is the 100 degrees. Now, we don't want this 10 degrees here, so let's subtract 10 from both sides. We don't want 3 times x, we just want 1 times x. How do we undo timesing by 3? We divide by 3 on which side? On both sides. And we get 1x is 30 degrees. Do we need the 1? No. Just x equals 30 degrees. All right. One big problem here, and I would lose a mark here, I would get 3 out of 4 maybe, is I haven't given a reason. We must give a reason for this statement, and the reason is exterior angle of triangle. Okay. Right. There are a couple more. Let's quickly go through these. Again, as always, if you haven't tried them yourself, please try them first. All right. I'm going to give this angle a name over here. Angle A is going to equal 67 degrees. 67 degrees. Angles opposite equal sides. Right, so we know that this is 67. So now we know that x plus 2 lots of 67 is 180 degrees. All right, that's angles of triangle. Okay, so 2 lots of 67 is 134. If we subtract 134 from both sides, we get 46 degrees. X is 46 degrees. Okay, y is equal to x, which is 46 degrees. That's vert-op angles. Okay, so this is 46 as well. This will also be 46. Let's give that a name. Let's call it angle B. Angle B is 46 degrees. And the reason for that is angles opposite equal sides. Okay, and now in this triangle on the left hand side here, Z plus 46 plus 46, and because I'm running out of space, I'm going to do that in my head, is 180 degrees. Angles of triangle. Alright, and if we subtract 92 from both sides, we get 88 degrees. Z is 88 degrees. Okay, now this is getting a bit more interesting here, because now we've got some kind of parallel lines as well. Okay, what do we remember here? Let's see what we can work out. Well, what we can work out is that this angle over here is also 35 degrees. Let's give it a name. Angle A is 35 degrees. Why? Well, because it's a corresponding angle on parallel lines. Corresponding angles, parallel lines. Okay, now, can we work out angle Y? Yes, but is that a Y or a V? I think it's a V. Because we can, because we've got two angles in a triangle and we can find the sum of the angles. So V plus 51 plus 35 is equal to 180 degrees. Angles of triangle. And we're talking about the big triangle. Right. 51 plus 36 is, 51 plus 35 is 86. 86. So if we subtract 86 from both sides, we get 94 degrees. Right, so V is 94 degrees. Okay, here's another one that involves some parallel lines and some triangles. Okay, what size is angle P going to be? Well, angle P is going to be 63 degrees because, and I'm going to draw in the little Z shape here, or N shape, there, there, there. P is 63 degrees. Alternate angles alt angles parallel lines. What about Q? Well, Q, interestingly, Q is together inside. It's a co-interior angle with this 45-degree angle. All right, I'm hoping you see that. Okay, so Q plus 45 is 180 degrees. All right, and that's co-int angles parallel lines. Okay, so Q, if we subtract 45 from both sides, Q is 135 degrees. Now, in the big triangle, we know what P is. P is 63. So we can use 63 plus 45 plus R is 180 degrees. I'm just going to change pen color here just because it's all on the same line, but hopefully it all makes sense. 63 plus 45 plus R is 180 degrees. Our reason is angles of triangle. All right, and 63 plus 45 is 108, which if we subtract 108 from both sides, R must be 82 degrees. Okay, right, the last one, okay, looks quite juicy. Well, what we know is we know that this angle over here and this angle over here are corresponding angles. So we know that 3x minus 5 degrees is 55 degrees. Corresponding angles, parallel lines. So if we add 5 to both sides, we get 60. And then if we divide both sides by 3, we get 20. X is 20 degrees. Okay. Now, if x is 20 degrees, then I'm trying to see what we know here. Oh, yeah. In fact, we don't need to use the fact that x is 20 degrees. What do we know about these two angles? Well, look at the N or Z shape that we've got forming here. There, and there. We've got some alternate angles, haven't we? So we know that 5y minus 4 is actually the same as 4y plus 6. And the reason is alt angles, parallel lines. Don't forget to mention parallel lines. Okay? So now if we subtract a y from both sides, we will be if we subtract 4y from both sides, we'll be left with 1y here. Minus 4 equals 6. If we add 4 to both sides, we get y equals 10 degrees. Okay. All right. Let's just close this out. Any angle less than, now these should be degree signs. I'm sorry about that. All right. Any angle less than 90 degrees is known as an acute angle. Two angles that add to 180 degrees are called supplementary. A triangle where we've got all three sides of different length is a scalene triangle. All the angles in an equilateral triangle are equal to, well, that's a little bit ambiguous. All the angles add up to 180 degrees. Each is 60 degrees. Okay. And then if two angles in a triangle are equal, the angle is what sort of triangle? It's an isosceles triangle. Okay, and that brings us to the end of our study of triangles, all right? But next time we're going to start talking about quadrilaterals, and they're a lot of fun. We look forward to seeing you then. Have a great day, everyone. Bye now.